The forgotten village. The road wound like a dying snake through the hollow hills, its cracked surface littered with dead leaves and broken branches. Jackson Reed gripped the wheel tighter, squinting into the thickening fog as the last bars of his phone's signal winked out forever. He hadn't planned to come this far. The trip was meant to be a quiet weekend escape, maybe a mountain cabin, maybe a lakeside inn. But the city's poison ran deep in him. Sleeplessness, the tremor in his hand when the caffeine wore off, the ache behind his eyes from too many glowing screens. When he'd seen the name, Dern Hollow, buried in the bottom corner of a travel forum, no reviews, no photos, something pulled him. Something ancient. Something wrong. But wrong in the right way. The road grew worse as the miles rolled by. Gravel turned to dirt. Dirt turned to muck. His tires slid, grinding against ruts gouged deep by forgotten wheels. Branches clawed at the roof like fingernails. The trees closed in, heavy and old. Their bark twisted into gnarled faces, hollow knots like eyes watching him pass. The air smelled of wet stone, old soil, and something else. Something sweet and rotting. The mist thickened until the world was no more than the hood of his car and the pale gray glow of headlights, useless against the gloom. Then the forest opened, suddenly as if exhaling. Dern Hollow. It was worse than the pictures he'd never seen. Crumbling houses leaned like drunks, their roofs sagging, black gaps where windows should be. Chimneys spewed slow curls of smoke that smelled of old oil and bone. The cobbled street glistened wet in the cold. At the village's edge stood a sign. Old. Splintered. Welcome to Dern Hollow population. And beside the sign, motion. A man, if man he still was, waited in the mist. Thin as a corpse in a coffin suit, his skin stretched tight over bone, his eyes too dark, too deep. He leaned on a crooked cane carved from wood so pale it might have once been bone. Jackson rolled down his window halfway. The man leaned in close. His breath smelled of cold iron and wet earth. You must be Mr. Reed. Jackson blinked. How did you? No one else comes here. Not willingly. The old man dropped something through the window. A brass key, heavy and warm as a heartbeat. Its teeth were strange, jagged like tiny hooked fingers. Hollow Hearth Inn. Last building on the left. Jackson hesitated. And after that? The old man's smile cracked wider. His teeth were tiny, sharp, and yellow as candle wax. Stay inside after dark. They wander, you see, when the moon is full. And then he was gone. Jackson jerked his head around, searching the mist, but the man had vanished without sound. A bad joke, maybe. Local color. He drove on, deeper into the hollow. Windows stared like blind eyes. Curtains twitched. No lights burned, but faces, pale, pinched, unblinking, pressed to the glass. Watching. Always watching. Once he thought he saw a child, small, thin, grinning with far too many teeth, vanish behind a cracked door. At last, Hollow Hearth Inn. It squatted at the end of the lane like a sleeping beast. Crooked timbers. Mildew-stained stone. The sign above the door swayed in the breathless air, its paint long peeled away. The door creaked open without touch. Inside, the air was thick, old wood, cold stone, the faint scent of lavender, and something metallic beneath. A man stood behind the desk. Jackson stopped short. The innkeeper looked wrong. His face was smooth, pale, hollow-eyed, as if sculpted from wax and left too near a fire. His black suit hung loose on thin shoulders. "Mr. Reed," the innkeeper rasped. "Welcome to Hollow Hearth." His voice was dry, dust shifting on stone. The man slid a cracked leather book across the desk. "Rules for guests. Read before sleep," he said. His black eyes gleamed. "Especially Rule 5. Jackson touched the book. The leather cover was soft, disturbingly warm, as if it breathed beneath his fingers. "Breakfast is at dawn. the innkeeper added, vanishing into shadow behind the stairs. No footsteps. No sound. Jackson shivered and climbed the stairs, each step creaking low and long. Room 3. The key slid into the lock, turning with a click like breaking bone. The door groaned open, revealing a room drowned in shadow and cold. A bed of old wood, covers faded gray. A wardrobe carved with symbols he didn't recognize. A window, closed, smudged with fingerprints. And on the bedside table, the book. Waiting. The rules for guests. 1. Lock the door after dark. 2. Don't open the window, no matter what you hear. 3. Ignore scratching from beneath the bed or the floorboards. 4. Do not drink the water from the bathroom tap after midnight. 5. Do not approach the well behind the inn. Not for any reason. Ever. Jackson swallowed. A prank. A joke. Right? But the room felt wrong. Thick air. Heavy silence. And then, scratch. Scratch. From beneath the floor. He froze. A whisper curled from the boards. Small. Weak. Help me, a child's voice. His eyes flicked to the window. Tiny handprints fogged the glass from outside. A shadow moved beyond the pane. Small. Pale. Grinning. He stepped back, bumping the wardrobe. The door shook gently. The handle turned. A faint giggle sounded outside. Knock. 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 Mr. Reed. The voice was sweet. Childlike. Wrong. Let us in. Jackson ran to the door, turned the lock, heart pounding like drums in his chest. The doorknob twisted. Pulled. He pressed his back to the wood. Let us in, you forgot us. You let us out once. The whispers curled like smoke under the door, filling the room. Jackson, his name. Soft as breath. The scratching grew louder. Beneath the bed now. Closer. Hungry. He clenched his fists. Not real, he whispered. Just tired. Just dreaming. But outside the window, dozens of faces now. Grinning. Watching. Waiting. The moon rose full and white, pouring pale light across the village. The well behind the inn creaked. The chains shifted. Something below stirred. The wind whispered, Jackson, help us, feed us. He backed against the wall, breath quick, sweat cold. But sleep would not come, and the night stretched long and endless, the rules burning in his mind. Do not open the door. Do not drink the water. Do not approach the well. Because the children of the well had awakened, and they remembered him. The first night in Hollow Hearth stretched like an eternity. Jackson hadn't slept, not truly. He drifted in shallow gulps of half-dream, where shadows whispered and the floor creaked under the weight of things that crawled unseen. Each time his eyes fluttered closed, he heard the voice again, thin, childlike, coaxing from the floorboards. Jackson, come down. The well is waiting. When the pale dawn crept like spilled milk through the window, Jackson rose. The fingerprints smearing the glass were gone. So was the voice. But a cold weight pressed against his chest, the kind that comes from dreams so real they leave bruises. The rules still lay on the bedside table. Their leather cover pulsed faintly under his touch, as if alive. He dressed quickly. The inn was silent save for distant, wet dragging sounds, like something pulled slowly across the cellar stones. In the empty dining room downstairs, a single bowl of gray porridge steamed gently on the long table. No sign of the innkeeper. No other guests. Jackson ate quickly, ignoring the sour tang that filled his throat with every bite. The porridge tasted like dust and old wood. As he swallowed the last mouthful, the front door creaked open. The old man from the road, the one with the bone cane, stood in the doorway, grinning thinly. Did you sleep well? Jackson stiffened. What do you want? The man chuckled, cane tapping the floor like a slow heartbeat. Visitors always ask the same. But you'll see soon enough. He tilted his head toward the back door, where the mist coiled thick and white. The well wakes tonight. It stirs. The village remembers. Jackson's stomach turned cold. The well. Rule 5. Stay away from it, he muttered. The book said so. The man only smiled. Rules are for keeping you safe or keeping you blind. Which do you prefer, Mr. Reed? Before Jackson could answer, the door swung shut with a groan. The man was gone. Silence fell again, heavy as grave soil. Against all sense, Jackson felt pulled to the window. The village outside seemed older in the daylight, roofs sagging deeper, walls cracked wider, their timber bones exposed like ribs beneath rotten skin. But worse were the people. They stood in doorways, at corners, faces blank as paper masks, eyes flat and hungry. Children sat in the mud, drawing circles in the dirt, each spiral wider, deeper, their fingers red with rawness. And at the far end of the lane, the well, a squat, black mouth of stone. Its wooden cover lay broken. Chains dangled into its throat like rotten tongues. A whispering came from it, soft as breath, but louder than thought. Jackson, he stepped back, heart racing. Stop it, he muttered. It's just this place, just nerves. But the innkeeper's book sat open now, pages turning on their own. Words appeared in dark red script, fresh and wet as blood. The well waits for you. His skin crawled. There was movement by the hearth. A shape unfolded from shadow, pale, thin, hairless, with eyes black as drowned stars. It smiled. Come see what lies beneath, Jackson. We've been waiting for so long. Its voice was every child's whisper he'd heard in the night. Jackson stumbled back, but the door behind him creaked open. The village stood waiting, silent, watching. A little girl in a torn dress stepped forward. Her face was hollow, gray, her smile wide and sharp. She held a doll, limp, filthy, its eyes sewn shut. She pointed toward the well. You let us out. Now you have to feed us. Jackson turned, but the inn was gone. Only darkness behind him, stretching wide and deep. And the ground beneath his feet cracked open. Thin, pale fingers reached from below. Down, whispered the voice of the well. Down where the forgotten lie. The village began to hum. Low, hungry. The sky dimmed, and Jackson fell. Great, let's dive into part 3. Below the well, deeply detailed for another 15-minute read aloud. Darkness swallowed him whole. Jackson fell, not like falling from a height, but as if sinking through thick, cold water. The world stretched, blurred, lost all sense of up or down. The whispering grew louder, voices of men and women, children and things that were never human, winding around him like threads pulling him deeper. Come see, come remember. The ground met him with a soft, wet thud. He gasped, coughing up sour, brackish air that stank of rot and time. He lay on old stone, slick with moss and grime. Above him, the well's mouth was just a distant circle of gray light, impossibly far. He rose, every bone aching. Around him stretched endless tunnels carved into black rock, their walls veined with slick roots that pulsed faintly as if alive. The air hummed with soft sound, breathing, whispering, the distant sound of slow, dragging footsteps. A glow flickered from deeper within, pale, sickly green like corpse light. Jackson pressed forward, the rules burning hot in his pocket. But when he pulled the book free, the pages were blank. The words had fled. Jackson. The whisper came from all sides, echoing down the tunnels. A child's voice, thin and wet. Come play. It's been so long since someone new came down. Shapes stirred in the gloom. Figures emerged, tall and crooked, their limbs wrong, their faces blank masks of stretched skin. One leaned close, sniffing at him with a wet, hollow sound. You don't belong here, it rasped. But you opened the way. The village fed you to us." He backed away, but more gathered. Their fingers were bone-thin, tipped with claws like broken glass. Their eyes were holes. "The well was sealed for a reason," the thing murmured. "We are the forgotten, the mistakes, the old ones they buried here when the price of the village was set." "Price?" Jackson gasped. "Life for peace, flesh for safety. Every year they fed us, wanderers, strangers, the lost. But the well grew hungry. Now it wants more." A distant scream echoed down the tunnels, high, human, real. Jackson turned. A flicker of motion, a shape in white, running deeper. "Help me," a woman's voice cried. "Please, they took my brother. I can't find him. Help." It was impossible. He was alone. Wasn't he? Trickery, the forgotten hissed behind him. Lies in flesh. She was fed long ago. But the scream came again, ragged, desperate. "Please." Jackson ran. The tunnels twisted, shifted, impossible geometry folding in on itself. The walls rippled, the roots grasped at him. Faces bloomed in the stone, old, pale, wide-eyed, whispering secrets. "Turn back, no escape. All paths lead down." But the voice drew him on. He burst into a wide chamber, dimly lit by green glow. At its center stood a woman, barefoot, clad in torn linen. Her eyes were wide with terror. "My brother, they took him into the dark. Help me," she sobbed. Jackson hesitated. "You're not real." "I am. Please, they'll take you next. They always do." The roots at his feet stirred. The ground cracked, and from the shadows behind the woman, something vast unfolded. It was not of flesh, nor bone, nor dream. It was hunger given shape, a coil of shadow, a mouth wide enough to swallow the world. The woman's smile split ear to ear. Her eyes turned black. "You fed the well, Jackson. Now it feeds on you." The shadow lashed out, tendrils striking, but he leapt aside, scrambling toward a side tunnel. The ground heaved, the walls groaned. The voice of the well thundered through the stone. No escape. No surface. No light. But in the corner of his eye light. Faint. Blue. A door, half buried in rubble. Old, ironbound. He lunged, tearing at the stones. Behind him, the shadow shrieked, reaching with claws of void. The door opened, and he fell through into another place. Silence. A garden, impossible beneath the earth. Twilight sky. Withered trees hung heavy with rotting fruit. A figure sat on a broken bench, its face hidden by a wide hat. "Jackson Reed," it said in a voice like grinding stone. "We meet at last. Who are you?" The figure tipped its hat. Its face was pale, skull-thin, stitched with black thread. "I am the collector, the keeper of forgotten bargains. The village made a pact long ago. You are the payment long overdue." "Why me?" Jackson demanded. "Because you came. Because you read the rules. Because the well woke when you arrived." The trees whispered in the dead wind. "But there is a way out," the collector said softly. "A price to be paid." Jackson stared, heart hammering. "What price?" The figure leaned close. "Someone must take your place." The ground trembled. The tunnels groaned. "Choose, Jackson Reed, or stay forever." The garden darkened. The sky, once dim twilight, turned black as wet ash. The collector rose from the bench, its hat casting a shadow that swallowed its stitched face. "You have until the bell tolls, wanderer," it said. "Choose or belong to the well forever." Jackson's throat tightened. His mind reeled. Someone to take his place? But there was no one, no friend, no soul here except the blank-eyed villagers and the things below. Unless the village. Could he offer the village itself? The people who watched and whispered, who'd fed the forgotten to save their own skin for centuries. The collector grinned, as if hearing his thoughts. "Oh, clever man. But the well hungers for you. It tasted your fear when you first crossed the boundary. You woke its memory. It will not be fooled so easily. The garden trees groaned as their roots writhed, cracking the stone below. Shapes gathered between the trunks, long-armed, eyeless, their grins splitting impossibly wide. "Tick-tock," the collector hissed. A faint bell sounded from nowhere, low, heavy, the tolling of something ancient. Jackson stepped back, trembling. His hand brushed the rule book, still burning hot in his pocket. Desperation flared. Wait. The book. The pages were blank now. Or were they? He yanked the book open, and under his fingers, faint lines glowed red, words forming, as if written from beneath the paper. One may offer not flesh, but memory. One may bind not body, but name. Name? Memory? His mind sparked. His memory. His life. Could he give it, forget who he was, and escape? The collector's stitched grin widened. Yes, clever indeed. A life forgotten is as sweet as flesh. The well will drink it gladly. The bell tolled again. Louder. Closer. Jackson's fingers tightened on the book. Lose everything, his name, his past, but escape this nightmare? Or refuse and be swallowed whole? Choose, the shadows whispered. Forget or feed, he shook his head. No, there had to be another way. And then a sound. A voice. Faint. Familiar. Jackson. He spun. A woman stood beyond the withered trees, pale, ghost-like, but real. Her eyes wide with fear. Jackson, it's me. Leah. His sister. Dead 5 years. Car crash. Impossible. She is gone, the collector sneered. A shadow no more. The well dredges her from your grief. Ignore her and choose. But Leah raised a hand, and the rulebook flared bright gold in his palm. Remember, Jackson, the truth. Before the village. Before the well. Pain lanced through his skull. Images clear, blinding. Not a traveler. Not a stranger. He had come here before. As a boy. The well. The village. The bargain made by his family long ago. His grandfather had fed the forgotten, had bound the reed line to this place forever. Jackson wasn't prey. He was the heir, and heirs could command. The collector's grin faltered. You, remember. The book flared white-hot, its pages filling with ancient words, old power. Blood calls to blood. The dead ends. The heir commands. The bell froze mid-toll. The shadows shrieked, twisting in agony. The collector staggered back, stitched face cracking. No, you are bound. You must be claimed. Jackson stepped forward, the book burning like fire in his hands. No, I own this curse, and I end it. Now. He flung the book to the earth. The ground split wide, light poured forth, blinding, pure. The garden withered. The shadows howled, and the forgotten screamed as they were dragged into the chasm, their bodies unraveling into dust. The collector reached for him, mouth wide, but the light consumed it, tore it apart, thread by thread. The bell shattered. The sky broke, and Jackson fell, up out into light. He gasped awake on the road. Morning sun. The empty highway. The forest distant and quiet. His car sat by the roadside, clean, untouched. His phone buzzed, full signal. No village. No Durnhollow. Only the rulebook lay beside him on the seat, blank, cracked, burned black at the edges. And in the distance, where the hills rose, the faint echo of a bell. But no toll would ever come again. Jackson smiled, started the engine, and drove. As he passed the first-mile marker, the words flickered on the cracked leather book, faint, fading. The debt is paid.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more.